Hey everyone, it's Ellen and welcome to my channel. So today I thought I'd do a tutorial about harmonious colors and creating a harmonious color palette. It's part of like color theory, and I'll go into a little bit of color theory on this tutorial. I'm not going to go deep dive into it, but just the basics of color theory and how to create some palettes in this harmonious palette. Now this is somewhat analogous, which is harmonious and analogous are kind of the same thing, but then I add in a little complementary color slash cool color tone to change it up a little bit, and talk about all of this in the tutorial for some people who are having difficulty trying to figure it out. Let me know what part of color theory bothers you. Leave a comment below. I'd love to hear about it. Also check out my Patreon. I have ad-free videos, exclusive tutorials on Thursdays, and a live stream in the top tier. It's just a place people go and support my channel, which I appreciate so much. So without further ado, let's get some color on our brush, start painting and learning about color theory just a little bit. Okay guys, let's get started. Alright friends, I'm going to talk about my supplies. I'm using Arches 100% cotton hot press paper today, paper towels and brushes. I'm playing around with maybe my 10 Neptune series, probably my 8 round Velvet Touch series. I might go in and use a 6 Velvet Touch also. I've got my paints here, water jars. So harmony colors, on the color wheel, it refers to aesthetically pleasing color combinations. This is based on relationships in the color wheel, right? These colors in harmony produce constant eye-pleasing contrasts that are used in all kinds of projects, in paintings, websites, design, logos, interior design, you name it. You can create harmonious color schemes by placing these colors in geometric shapes on the top of the color wheel and adjusting saturation and brightness as needed. This is a great tool, by the way. If you don't have one of these, get one of these. It's called the Pocket Color Wheel. They're so inexpensive. You can get these in any craft store, even any art supply store, and it will help you figure out the things we're going to talk about. This is all created like back in the late 17th century. Sir Isaac Newton created a circular diagram of colors in the color wheel that would be the base of the color theory and revolution in understanding relationships between colors. The color wheel, which was made up of 7 colors of rainbow, was later improved to 12 different hues. Nowadays we all use it for all kinds of color combinations. So here we go. We talk about everyone when you were going to school as a child. I actually have a link below that I'm going to give you in the description box of a website that I thought broke it down really simple for people in color theory. And I'm not going to get into whole entire color theory today, but I just want to talk about painting like just a kind of simple painting using harmonious colors, right? Which is another word for analogous colors right here. Colors that are kind of next to each other on the color wheel. And obviously when you were a kid, you know about complementary colors, red and green, blue and orange, yellow and purple. And then there's other ways to do, combinations. There's triadic, which is, here we are, the red, blue, and yellow, right? Which is the primary, but you can also use orange, green, and purple, right? And then so on and so on. And what's great about the color wheel is they kind of do the work for you, right? So here you turn in the back, and here's the triadic part. And then we just move it around the colors like blue, green, or green, and it'll tell you the triangle part of that, right? Which color would go good with that. And they also give you a split complementary, tetrad on all those. And tetrad or tetradic is like a 4 combination color here. So here we have red, orange, red, violet, blue, and green, or like yellow, green. So anywhere that's it's creating like a rectangle shape of colors, right, on the color wheel. And like I said, analogous is the colors next to each other. So here we had red, right? Red, violet, and red, orange. They're kind of analogous. You can do the same thing. One color here, yellow, and the colors next to it, right? Next to it on either side. Blue, you get blue, violet, and blue, green. And then we have monochromatic, which I've done many tutorials on monochromatic. It's basically taking the hue and watering it down. For watercolor, you're watering it down to make it lighter, right? Lighter and dark of the same hue. Saturation changes when you add water. When acrylic or oils, you add, white to the saturation of the color to lighten it, black, gray to darken it, shading, all that nonsense, right? And there's a square colored combination you can do as well. Just think of a square. So here's your color wheel, think of the square. So if you get stumped in like, what colors to do for just making up your own kind of, design, a pattern, and what colors look great together, this is where you start. You just get a simple color wheel, and it kind of gives you the colors for that, right? And also when you flip it on this side, it tells you if you add yellow to red, you should get this, blue to orange, you get this, and white for this, and black, what happens when you add black, right? All these things really help. And I have some examples that we've done in some of these areas. So complementary, well, when you think of Christmas or something like this, here we have the geraniums, right, that I painted red and green, right? Even though we have some gray down here, but it's really kind of like what's catching your eye is the flowers that are red and green. It's those combinations of the colors catch the eye. Same thing with this landscape, a lot of oranges and blues, so it complements each other and you're really catching your eye all around the paper. Now if it was just here and nowhere else, your eye is going to go to this. I believe this is a triadic, yes. So we got the orange or yellow, orange, blue, and the red's kind of in here. See, your eye's going right there. This would be an example of analogous colors. So we've got the yellow, green, right there, kind of like next to each other, right in here in the color wheel. Monochromatic, well, self-explanatory, I would say, right? And then we have cool colors and warm colors. So the cool colors and warm colors. So the warm colors would be, what you would think of, which is the yellows, oranges, and reds, right? But then I throw in one cool color. See, the green is cool. That's how it pleases the eye. So you get mostly the hot tones, and then you throw in one cool color. Boom. Look at that. I mean, black is neutral. Doesn't really count. And then it's the cool colors, right? So mostly blues and greens. And even though there's a pink in there, it's more of in the purple shade. So this is really all in the cool tones. So today, let's just paint something like a doodle that's harmonious. So I hope that was a little, it's a simple explanation. There's so many longer explanations on how to do this, but I thought we just had to play with some color, because I know people are like, I don't know what to color, I don't know what to paint. And we, sometimes you just go for it and just paint like use every color you can use. But I always say stick to some simple stuff. So harmonious colors. Like I said, we can do some cooler and hot tones, but they're mostly cool. So here's the color wheel. I'm going to stick to maybe some red oranges, and violets, right? And here. And then I can throw in something on the opposite. So it is going to be mostly harmonious here. We could just keep it that way. The whole thing analogous harmonious. But you could add another color. I know it's like off the cuff, but that's how you do, colors that would look great on your paintings. So we've got, let's see, we can do like a red. I'm gonna do like an it doesn't have to be super red. So I'm gonna make opera with my red. I'm mixing opera with my yellow to make like a blushy, orangey color. I'm gonna start with that. And so I've got opera, this color here, which I love, very bright and vibrant. I've got cadmium red light. Clean up the brush. I'm using the neptune, by the way. Here's the cadmium red light. So it kind of looks similar right now. I do want to water it down a little bit and add a little more of this pink. Right? It could be violet in there, like I said, here's the red orange, red violet. I would think opera is kind of like more in the red violet. It could be magenta. So if you wanted to do it with magenta, if you don't have opera, it's my primary magenta color. We're not going to magenta. So they're kind of next to each other on the color wheel. Now I know the rule would be red and red violet and orange, but we can be a little bit of a rule breaker. Right? Here's yellow and add some magenta. You make an orange. That's kind of an ugly orange. If you want a brighter orange, I would add the opera. Make a nice pretty orange. So right now I'm just mixing color here. There we go. So we have the raw orange there, right? Got the red. Get that purple. So you would say these three are like analogous. / Harmonious colors. But I think you can add like a little color in there. And see? Now we're just going to do simple strokes. I'm going to get the number 10. Just play with strokes. Now you could use any paper you have with this, right? We're not talking about doing something fancy. We're just playing with strokes. And I think the important thing is to play with the color and the strokes. So got this number 10 brush, doing fatter strokes, little skinny strokes, and they obviously have a movement, right? So how you use your strokes also creates, you know, a look and a feel of your painting. The strokes look like, not angry, but they have action, right? They're going a certain way. And that's just going to help make your painting have some vibrancy. So I get this orange color, look a little orange. Woo. So that's red. This is not like a deep red too. This is more like, and also when you water it down, you change the hue as well. So here's that ripened orange. And again, just take some more strokes. Now at this point, you can start to make like more rounder shapes, kind of filling in here, and then do some lines like this. This is just like a doodle to play with color. See? Circle, little lines, do some little teeny lines. Playing with color. It's kind of fun if you just did something, a whole entire painting with like little line strokes like this, in different color palettes. You'll see how creative it looks. It's just, you know, it's an abstract, but the colors are harmonious. So we've got that. This is more of a peach. I probably shouldn't make more of a red. So I'm going to add up my magenta and a little bit of yellow, get a deeper red. Yeah, so there's a red. Woo! Intensity, right? See, now you can say that the hue is more saturated because there's less water here. And I go over here and add some red. It's like a little color lesson. And then we have this red-violet, right? Which is magenta, basically. Here you can actually make some more circles, some little lines. See, I'm just making the same kind of pattern throughout, but just moving it around the page. Makes it really interesting, pretty, kind of a unique looking like flowers. Again, I grabbed up magenta. Ooh, I've got something here on my brush. See the intensity of the color? Maybe add a little more red to that. There's less water, so it's getting more intense. And see, these are all on the hot tones, right? And that's kind of how it works. But you could have red, violet, violet, and blue violet. They're still cool, right? Once you start getting into like yellow, green, so that's hot going into, this is hot going into cool, hot going into cool, red, violet, violet, yellow into yellow, green. It's kind of like slowly bringing your eye in that way. See? So I would say it's harmonious, analogous at this point. Just doing some simple strokes for simple folks. I knew I had to say that. I'm gonna grab the red, and bigger ones. See? You can keep them all small. Play around with the size of the strokes. And we're going to talk about, so I did a Harmonious palette. This is the Harmonious palette right now. I'm concentrating also in the center. Now I would fill the whole page. It'd be really kind of cool, right? I don't want to spend this whole day showing you the whole page because you would get bored. It's kind of like yellow orange more than orange, but it doesn't matter. See, now I'm going to go this way. Longer strokes. I haven't used the number 6 yet. We're going to play with that in a second. So that looks nice and hot, but it's so intensity, which is great. Do we want to cool it down? This is how we want to cool it down. So obviously we have a lot of reds and oranges and the pink, right? You could throw in a green, because then you got the complementary color going in there, right? With the red and the green. Because you have this magenta, like reddish, red violet, you can go into a violet, right? And that would look really pretty. You see where I'm going with this? So you change the palette by adding the complement. You could do blue, because blue is the opposite of orange. And then the eye is going to be like intense with that. So let's try, I'm going to take cobalt here. Can you just see how intense that would be with the blue? How cool that would look? You're really like catching your eye. If you want some really intense kind of design, that cobalt, I can just see from here, right next to that. Boom. It's like wakes you right up. You want to paint a painting that wakes you up. If you want to get a little softer, I'm going to go grab my opera. Make a nice purple. You see how that slows you down. It's not as intense, right? That complementary color, although this is kind of a little yellow, it can kind of make your eye woo, because purple is the opposite of yellow. But it's not doing it in this instance, right? You're not feeling that intensity that blue would do. See? And then we're going to do this purple, because it kind of just feels nice and light with this pink. I'll just do little dabs. I'm going to add some more concentrated color, which means less water. Still using this big brush. Making skinnier lines. You can do mixed skinny lines with this, or little circles. Now see how it's next to this, it's your eyes a little more, whoa, hello, wake up. When it gets next to this, it's sweet and soft and sassy. See how this works? Still very eye-catching. I'm going to grab my 6 long round. Do you understand the color theory now a little bit more? So these are analogous colors now thrown in with a complementary type color, or secondary in some instances next to the purple and pink. And then the saturation of the color changes the hue of it, right? Less water, lighter. So we did some nice light purple ones. I'm going to grab some more water on this one. Just toning it down. Woo. A little less water. Changes everything. Right? Do little lines, little teeny skinny lines. Now we've got these 4 colors, right? You could just keep this nice little palette going here. And then I'm going to just make intensity by adding intensity of the colors that we had before. So the red, I'm going to get this magenta in here, make this deeper red. This is kind of a washed out red. Watch what happens when I make a more intense saturation red. Just, again, your eye is going to go right to that section. Now I have a smaller brush, so I can create some finer lines and more details. But obviously, we're just doing some little doodles. Look at that. See that spike? And the intensity of the color makes your eye go, whoa. A lot of action, a lot of intensity in that section, right? Your eye is kind of going there. And you can put these on top of these pinks, and it doesn't feel the same, right? It feels a little different. It feels a little softer. It's intense, but it doesn't feel as intense because you got this nice reddish, red velvet kind of color next to it. Right? Just these 3 colors are really pretty. The purple with the red and, well, it's supposed to be red violet, but you understand, magenta. Get it a little bit darker. And because it's lightened in the saturation, I can add some more darkened magenta and change it again. See how this goes? So this is kind of just basic, simple 101. And then you just keep playing with the strokes. So it's also in the cool family. Excuse me. What? Hot family, but one cool color. But because the cool color is kind of next to the hot color, it doesn't feel like this BAM! Even though it kind of does in a little bit, but because this is like a more of yellow orange than a true orange, I'm going to mix my brilliant orange. Now if this is a true orange, there we go. That's a yellow orange. Changing the orange. Now it looks more intense, right? Just things to think about when you're painting. Especially if you're doing like just a fun abstract. Some people want to do some abstracts, but they don't know where to start with color. So I would say play with some hot tones and cool tones, and then throw in a little mixture of fun, right? Like this is mostly cool tones, and then I throw in a hot tone with the orange. So you get this intensity. Now, we change this harmonious colorway and add another cool color. What do you think would happen? What do you think would happen? Let's add green. Get my yellow and my peacock. Now I don't want this, I want more of a lighter green. Green, yellow green. Gonna grab more yellow. Okay, yellow green. Put it next to the purple. It's harmonious because they're in the cool family. See, color theory at play here. And it doesn't really bother you in going next to a yellow tone. Why is that? Because yellow-green is complementary to, well, not complementary, excuse me, it's analogous to yellow. So your eye isn't bothered by being next to that. Now red, it's the complement. So we've got a bunch of different things going on here. And this is how people come up with, you know, designs. Right? Is your eye being bothered by the green? Not really. And if you add a blue-green, it would go well too. So I'm just going to go right out here, make some funky lines. You see how I'm just doing this lines, this way, that way, this way, that way. Big brush, little brush. Your eye is kind of going all around the page. You're kind of bringing your eye back and around and around and around and around. All these fun. This is fun doodle to do for color. Also, what helps to know is the type of paint you use. Now, I love Holbein because the pigments. I love the pigments, the saturation of them, the color tones are fantastic. It's just what I prefer. Some watercolorists like the serious, more, you know, true colors, and they're gonna go for, you know, maybe a Daniel Smith or something more, like something real expensive that is more less intense pigment like this, right? But that's just, it's a preference. So here we go. We add the blue to the green, and that's cobalt. Let's see how this looks. Ooh, I don't like it muddy. I always like, let's just take the peacock. Every time I say that word, I feel like I'm playing the game Clue. And I add just a little bit of yellow. So now we've got like a turquoise green, which is like a blue-green. Kind of cute. If you want a more blue-green, you might add ultramarine. But ultramarine actually makes it really like a dull kind of green, like a real true leaf kind of green. Let's try Prussian blue. Yeah. See? Always, I like to tap on my paper towel, and you can really see the color. Get some more blue here. That's more blue-green. It's kind of like a blue-blue, but add a little bit of yellow. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of a turquoise. So you can play with it a little bit and you say, I don't know. Don't like that Harmonious green. Maybe I would do just a nice deeper green. So I would go back to the peacock, in my opinion, and add just a little bit of yellow so you have a deeper green than we had before. And paint over that blue-green, because I didn't like the way that was looking. And again, you just go out here. You can add some like real looking leaves if you want. I just feel like let's just make it fun just by doing pattern with just the lines going this way and that way. And some people might not find this tutorial useful, but I think color is a real big deal. It is for me anyway. It's good just to play around with color, you know. Obviously, the lighter and the darker you paint, the intensity changes everything. So here is an example, complementary colors that are lighter. So this flower that I did, you know, it's reddish tone with the green. It's very soft. You don't get that intensity of the complementary colors because they're soft, right? And then so here's like a yellow mustardy color with a gray. So the gray tones are on the blue side, and then you get the yellow, which is more, you know, it's more complementary to purple, but it's like a yellow orange, so it kind of, you know, complements that. You see, it's the hue too. So the lighter hue softens everything up. This is really intense. You could have made this whole thing less intense, right? You could have watered down all the pinks. See, just these little fun strokes. Taking your brush, just making little lines. You can create some really funky looking flowers, patterns. You know, it doesn't take much to make something really cool. Just simple strokes for simple folks. There's that pink and that green. They just go well together, don't they? Because they're kind of complement to each other, because they're in the red and green kind of family. And then we go back with, let me see, we have the red color. It's a little too wet, but that's okay. You can always tap your brush on the paper towel, by the way. See, I can go back with my red, go back in here and add some more intensity. Just little dashes, little dots. And we have like a nice little, you know, doodle. That's what I would call it. Doodle for the day. Get you out of your slump. Have you like learn about color a little more. Color is important. Get one of those color wheels. It really will help you if you get stuck on it. And it's so, you know, small. You can do a little pocket thing and take it anywhere you want to go. It's great if you're traveling and you're like, what colors? It just might help you if you're stuck. I've been painting with color forever. My first job out of college, I was hired as a colorist for a children's wear company. Yep, I went to school to become a children's book illustrator, and I became a colorist for children's fashion. I joke about this all the time, and people talk about like my generation. When I got out of college, they wouldn't hire you for an illustrator unless you were somebody. So, you know, after bringing a book around forever and getting no deals, I went into another field. And what happened when that whole market crashed is that they hired the students right out of college because they weren't paying those people anymore. And by then I was like not going to accept like that nonsense kind of like payment. So yeah, I think every generation has something. So there you go. I can go back to that yellow green again. Goes right into that yellow, very harmonious. See, just some kind of little doodle. I'm gonna go make some more red. And go in here. Add some little intense deepness with saturation with the color, see? And your eyes going there. So skinny strokes, big strokes, little strokes. Fill the whole page and you'll have something really fun to look at. And that's the name of the game, guys. Fill the whole page. See? There's a big one out here. And some little strokes inside. You could have done this the whole page. You could have done something like this. Big strokes. Going down like the whole page. So I thought I'd just make this tutorial for people who are stumped with color, trying to figure out what to do. So I'm going to go over this one. Look at that. So as you can see, I filled in the page. Like I said, I was trying to make this video for people who are stumped with color. Just wanted to talk about like analogous colors, harmonious colors, doing color palettes. You can see them in real time in some of the tutorials that I've done. And, you know, don't freak out. You know, just something simple like this. You can get some analogous colors together, like I did the 3 colors, and then throw in a complementary color or 2, you know, or 3 or 4. But you see how it plays in your design. If you're having trouble with difficulty with color, do something like that. And also, if you're in a rut, you know, like I said, you can do. I don't know if I said it because I think I got cut off my phone. But if color is still freaking you out, practice strokes and patterns, right? Like I did all these different patterns here, just lines going here and this way and that way. Play with one color, play with pattern for a while, and then add another color and play a pattern. Do a shape and then add a pattern in that, right? This is kind of helps you get out of your rut. This kind of helps you grow creatively. You can do a whole book on patterns. Each page can be a different color, or you can play around with the color wheel like I talked about. This little guy is like the best thing to have. You know, you want to carry this around, or if you travel, or have it close by you if you can't figure it out. But play around with the different complementary, triadic, analogous, monochromatic, tetradic, you know, split complementary, which is basically like 2 complementary colors, right? So red and blue with the secondary color, which is like, you know, green, right? So we have the primaries red, yellow, and blue. Secondary colors, which is green, orange, and purple. So a split complementary would be like, you know, a triangular, but smaller triangular, where it's red, blue, and green. Whereas a triadic, which is a real triangle, you know, would be like the complementary colors or the other triangle colors next. It would be like red, yellow, blue, or orange, green, and purple, right? And so on and so on. So it would be yellow, orange, you know, green, blue, purple, red, violet, that kind of thing. So let me know if this is something that was interesting to you. If you're having trouble with color and creating color palettes, I'd love to hear. Leave a comment below. And yeah, guys, just don't stress out about it. This, you know, I understand that maybe if you're starting out, it's really difficult. But really, like I said, just start painting with just simple color schemes, you know, complementary colors, and then add like another color in there, right? That would be really simple, like 4 colors. It really helps you like look more. And then, you know, the tone changes because of the saturation, because you're adding water, and watercolor becomes lighter, like you see here. Not adding as much, it's darker. And that is like almost like another color on top of your colors. You see how this works? All right, guys, thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you have a fantastic day. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon.